But please keep in mind that it's both possible, and even necessary, to simultaneously enjoy a piece of media while also being critical of its more problematic or pernicious aspects.
Therein lies the problem, Anita. What you do is not criticism, it's propaganda. You go out of your way to lie and cherry-pick things from games to make them appear sexist and misogynist.
This brings us to one of the core reasons why the trope is so problematic and pernicious for women's representations. The damsel in distress is not just a synonym for weak. Instead, it works by ripping away the power from female characters, even helpful or seemingly capable ones. No matter what we're told about their magical abilities, skills, or strengths, they're still ultimately captured or otherwise incapacitated and then must wait for rescue. Distilled down to its essence, the plot device works by trading the disempowerment of female characters for the empowerment of male characters. Let's compare the damsel to the archetypal hero myth, in which a typically male character may occasionally also be harmed, incapacitated, or briefly imprisoned at some point during their journey. In these situations, the character relies on their intelligence, cunning, and skill to engineer their own escape.
That's better.
Or, just punching a hole in the prison wall works too. The point is, they're ultimately able to gain back their own freedom. In fact, that process of overcoming the ordeal is an important step in the protagonist's transformation into a heroic figure. A damseled woman, on the other hand, is shown as incapable of escaping the predicament on her own, and then must wait for a savior to come and do it for her. In this way, the damsel's ordeal is not her own. Instead, it's framed as a trial for the hero to overcome. Consequently, the trope robs women in peril from the opportunity of being the architects of their own escape, and therefore prevents them from becoming archetypal heroes themselves.
Anita is making a false equivalency argument by comparing male protagonists to female NPC characters and claiming that men rescue themselves and women have to wait to be rescued by men, when in reality characters freeing themselves have nothing to do with gender and everything to do with if the character is the main protagonist. There have been several games with female protagonists that have rescued themselves.
How do I get out? I could just get the key from that guard.
How are you feeling, la brat?
Feeling pretty good, actually. Did they really just... Oh, okay. Just jump down and kill him because he has a gun and I don't. Okay.
You need your hammer. Use the vents to get out of your cell and see if you can find a way through. Find some key cards.
What do we do?
Don't panic. Let's go through the engine room.
Finish her off, and then do whatever you want to her.
You son of a bitch! Go fucking blow yourself! How do you want it, motherfucker?
It's gonna be a long fucking night.
Bad day for you!
What do you mean, bad day for me? Of course it's a
better not be where I think I am.
And it's worse than that, my dear. Just look who you've got for company.
You? I thought you'd managed to escape. We found no trace of you at all.
You couldn't find me, but there was no hiding from the Skedar, as you and Mr. Carrington just discovered. This is it. Wait there. I'll make a distraction. It will give you a chance to get out. Use it, or we'll both die.
Why are you doing this, Cassandra?
The Skedar used me, Joanna. You were my best chance for revenge.
Outside, Joanna! Get the shields down and we can help! Got to get those shields.
You crazy geek freak. What kind of stunt is that to pull? Let's take her in.
She don't look much like one of them. Maybe...
Let's go back to what Anita said earlier.
The point is, they're ultimately able to gain back their own freedom. In fact, that process of overcoming the ordeal is an important step in the protagonist's transformation into a heroic figure.
So why didn't Anita look at games that have female protagonist and see if they rescued themselves? There's certainly a lot of games where this is the case, but Anita refuses to do this because she is dishonest. Anita talks about the NPC Elaine Marley from Monkey Island rescuing herself.
I've come to stop you from marrying Governor Marley.
So, for instance, when wannabe pirate Guybrush Threepwood finally reaches the kidnapped Elaine Marley in the 1990 adventure game The Secret of Monkey Island, she already has a plan to escape and he ruins it with his attempt to rescue her.
Oh, Guybrush, you mad fool! I'm impressed you came to rescue me, but it really wasn't necessary.
She doesn't bring up the fact that there have been several games where female NPC characters have rescued themselves. Anita does everything she can to make the damsel trope look as bad as possible while ignoring things that counter her arguments. I could go on about Anita's dishonesty, but let's move on to number 4. People are not getting the original video topics they were promised. Originally Anita said she was doing 5 video topics.
This new video series will primarily focus on tracking 5 stereotypical representations of women throughout the history of video games. I'm going to look at the damsel in distress, the fighting toy, the sexy sidekick, the sexy villainess, and the most common trope in video games, women as background decoration.
3 years later and she only completed 2 out of the 5 videos. Since she changed the topics of the remaining videos that she hasn't made, she is never going to do those topics. With that alone, she isn't delivering what she originally promised, but since she lied about her organized group of people attacking her for the first time because of her Kickstarter, she has received 25 times more money than what she originally asked for, so she expanded on her original 5 videos and made it 12 videos. Out of the 12 videos that she promised, she only delivered 5 out of the 12 videos. So altogether people are only ever going to get half of what they originally paid for. because Anita has changed all the remaining topics and shorted the length of the videos. People are getting less than half of what they were originally promised, and the remaining half of the series is going to be a watered-down versions of what people were originally promised, despite Anita getting 25 times more than what she was asking for. Anita said she needed the Kickstarter money to do extensive research on video games.
As you might imagine, this project requires an enormous amount of research, because I'm not just looking at a handful of games or just the worst offenders, but at hundreds of games and hundreds of different characters across all genres. This is an incredibly ambitious project because of the scope and scale of the research and production involved, so please donate any amount you can to bring this video series to life.
Despite getting 25 times more money than what she asked, her videos are filled with factual errors and evidence that she doesn't play the games that are featured in her videos. Let's look at some examples.
Zelda has never been the star in her own adventure.
Zelda was playable in 2 CDI games: Zelda the Wand of Gamelon and Zelda's Adventure. I am not saying these are good games, but they are console games where Zelda was the star of her own adventure.
Over in the Mushroom Kingdom, we have Toadette, who is both a Ms. Male character and the only woman among the Mushroom people. Her introduction to the Mario spin-off games emphasizes the fact that all the other Toads in the entire species are male.
There have been several female Toads throughout the Mario RPG games.
Regardless of the canned automated reaction, they are all designed to be expendable, to be used up and then tossed out.
Oh god!
Their status as disposable objects is reinforced by the fact that in most games, discarded bodies will simply vanish into thin air a short time after being killed.
She tries to tie disappearing bodies as something that only happens to female NPCs, but it has nothing to do with gender. It's just something that happens in a lot of games irregardless of gender, so the game doesn't slow down because of bodies piling up. Anita shows the release date of the game being 2014, but that's not the date the game was released. The game came out in 2007. The animated movie based on the game was released in 2014.
Watching these characters' in-game movement animations, you'd think that the director of the motion capture session directed them to walk like a model instead of a hardened space warrior, or master thief, or bioterrorism agent, or crime boss, or vampire.
Rain is not a vampire.
We have no use for a vampire in our ranks. This is a waste of time.
Not vampire. Half vampire. Fewer weaknesses. She must feed.
Bayonetta is a quintessential example of such a character. When the camera caresses her body as it does in the opening scene of Bayonetta 2, establishing the player's relationship with the character, she's frozen in time, the passive object of the male gaze. The camera is putting her and Jean on display for the player, breaking them down into what the game is communicating is most important about them.
That is not Jean in the cutscene. That is Bayonetta's mother, Rosa.
These limitations on creativity when it comes to female characters don't stop with body type. We also don't see the same range of ages commonly represented as we do with male characters. It's not unheard of to see male soldiers, fighters, and heroes who appear to be in their 40s, 50s, and even older.
You're right.
Metal Gear Solid has older female characters. There's the boss from the 3rd game and Eva from the 4th. Tess and Marlene are older female characters in The Last of Us.
One of those new monsters was the Vagary, a monstrosity with the upper half of a naked woman and the lower half of a giant spider, who also happens to be pregnant with a demon fetus in her abdomen. It's no mistake that the Vagary blends female sexuality and fertility with elements designed to be unsettling or horrifying. The book The Making of Doom 3 reveals that the game's creative team summed up the driving concept for the Vagary with the equation sexy plus gross equals creepy. What the makers of Doom 3 may not have realized is that this equation was in no way new, original, or innovative. On the contrary, by singling out the Vagary, the only female enemy in the game, for her gender and using this to make her uniquely repulsive, the designers were participating in a very long tradition of creating female creatures who function to demonize femaleness itself.
The Vagary is not the only female enemy in the game. Anita never completed her Kickstarter series. 38 people gave $250 or more to Anita's project. 13 people gave $500 or more to Anita's project. Both of these tiers of backers were promised a DVD copy of the series. That's 51 people who were promised DVDs of the complete series who never got the DVD because the series is not complete. As you can see, Anita series is filled with factual errors and dishonesty. The series doesn't come anywhere close to delivering on what Anita promised her backers in the funding video. The number one reason why Anita is a con artist will be revealed in part 2. For more examples of Anita's dishonesty you can go to my website which is linked below.